And thanks so much to Barbara also, who's facilitating the tech. And it's so lovely to be with this community again. I had such a lovely time last time. And while Rabbi Josh was just talking, I was just scrolling through your faces and names and saw so many familiar ones and so many new friends too. It's really lovely. I had the thought it's like I've died and gone to Jewish meditation heaven. It's like all these people I practiced with over the years, here they all are. So please God, we should all live until 120 in very good health. That's, you know what I mean. Um, so lovely to be here. And I'm going to ask Barbara to please share the handout, the document, and we'll do an opening chant. And I'll talk for a little bit about the teaching which relates to it. And then we'll go into some silence and then with the chant again. So it's Ashrei, the call and response tune, which even if you've never heard it before, hopefully you can kind of follow, do what I do back to me, sing it after me. And even though I won't hear you, hopefully we'll all be able to enjoy and feel the experience of singing it all together. So that's that chant on the top of the sheet. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalalucha Selah. Happy are those who dwell in your house. Oh, thanks, Barbara. That's nice and big. Thanks. Happy are those who dwell in your house. Od Yehalalucha Selah. They will continue to praise you, Selah. And I'll just say a brief intention before we do it, which is that the house we're giving thanks for, we're saying we're fortunate and happy to be in the house of the divine, and that can be interpreted in so many ways. And my kavanah, my intention for us today is that the house that we are going to be paying attention to as often in our practice is our bodies, so that we're going to begin bringing attention to what's going on in our bodies. And we're going to start with the chant along those lines, and then we'll see a related teaching, and then we'll see how that flows into our practice. So follow me with the call and response tune if you'd like to. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehalalucha Od Yehalalucha Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehalalucha Od Yehalalucha. One more time. Join in even if you haven't before. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehalalucha Od Yehalalucha Selah. So fortunate are we to be in a body. And of course, everybody's body is different and giving us different things all the time, including things which sometimes we may rather not. Want to, of course, acknowledge that many of us will be experiencing all kinds of difficulties in our bodies in this moment and throughout our lives. Nonetheless, the body is an essential aspect of us being alive. And through our embodied experience, mystics tell us we can evolve spiritually. And a big part of the fixing of the tikkun that in particular the Baal Shem Tov brought, the Baal Shem Tov founded the Hasidic movement. A big part of the tikkun that he brought and that whole movement brings is being less scared of the body and being more willing to find the divine inside our embodied experience. It's really a big fixing after so many centuries of Judaism having been very disembodied in practice in a lot of respects. So we're going to look at this teaching now from the Baal Shem Tov, and then that'll develop into our practice. So from Keter Shem Tov, I'll read the English. A person should always see which quality is arising in their thoughts, whether it is from love or awe or harmony, and elevate that quality. Even though it is a worldly concern bound up in physical desires, they can elevate it. And know this very thought needs to be fixed at this particular time, whether it is from love, awe, or harmony. For it was damaged because of the primal breaking, and now it is the time to elevate it. Therefore, the thought descended from the higher worlds and came to the person in order that they elevate it from brokenness. This requires attaching oneself to the Blessed Creator with that same quality mentioned above, whether love, awe, or harmony, or any of the other qualities of the 7 days of creation. So while eating or drinking, when love arises, then take the pleasure which derives from this act of eating and drinking and elevate that pleasure to the Blessed Creator. So we don't have time to do a full class and explanation of every aspect of this teaching, but I want to just draw our attention to a couple of things. First is he starts off talking about thoughts in particular. Then as the teaching goes on, he's talking more and more about emotions. And by the end, when he's talking about the pleasure that we have from eating and drinking, for example, it's clear that he's talking about our embodied experience. And actually, I just noticed earlier, not in time to correct it before the session, that even in the first paragraph, where it says bound up in square brackets, it's actually not really the best translation. I should fix that, because really it's matters of this world which are connected to and really which emerge from our physical desires. So he's really relating the truth that if we look closely at our thoughts and our emotions, it's often hard to actually find the separation between them. There's a very, very subtle distinction between them, and actually there's a point where they merge into each other. So there's thoughts, there's emotions, and of course there's also other kinds of embodied experience, other kinds of sensations. And in other places, the Baal Shem Tov and also many of his students essentially say that anything we experience in our bodies, any of those, a thought, a feeling, or a sensation, is an opportunity to encounter the divine. And the practice he's offering us here, as he says, is in the last paragraph, is to attach oneself to the Creator using that same quality. So whatever's arising, he gives the example of desire. Or say I have desire for a certain food. Maybe I'm eating it, or maybe I'm just thinking about eating it. I can use that desire as an invitation, as an opening to turn that desire to the ultimate source of life, the ultimate source of everything. And if that is available and accessible to you right now, if that resonates with you, then great. And if not, we can just take that desire and turn it towards something else which serves us, which serves our growth, something that we want to cultivate in ourselves, maybe more courage or more kindness, more openness, more wisdom, more patience, whatever it is. We can take that desire and apply it how we want to. And that's one of the key practices of inner work the Baal Shem Tov prescribed. So we're going to sit quietly, and I'm going to suggest that we try and do that with whatever arises. And it's going to be different depending on what arises, and for every person it's going to be different. So I'm just going to suggest 2 more things about it. It can be done in a very general way, which is that whatever arises, you can essentially say, this is also the divine. As Rabbi Jeff Roth likes to say, now it's like this. Right? This is also the divine. Now it's like this. This is also Hashem, Ein Sof, God, whatever you want to call it. Life. This is also life. This is also the oneness that I am part of. And if that works for you, then that's also the practice. And you can also do it more specifically, as he's suggesting here, which is to take the specific thing and say, oh, this specific feeling or sensation or thought is arising. How does that relate to my relationship to the Creator, the mystery, the infinite one? Can I use it as an invitation, like that example before about desire? If it's desire that's arising, can I explore my desire and open my desire to be closer to the source? And if it's fear, to do the same thing. to turn what might be kind of regular worry or anxiety we all have sometimes, to kind of turn that to a kind of awe, a healthy awe and reverence for the creator, and so on. Actually, I'll give one more example because I think it may apply to some folks, not just me. If we have thoughts about self, I'm so this, I'm so that, I'm so great, I'm so not great, ego thoughts. So he relates that to tiferet, to pride, to glory. And again, the same thing applies. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm so great or I'm so not great, I can turn that to the creator. I can be like, oh, wow, what's really great? The oneness. That's really great. I can use it as an opportunity to connect with that. So whatever ever arises on any level, we can do it specifically, we can do it generally. It's an opening, it's an invitation to think and feel about how it connects to the divine. Just saw something on the chat. I'm just going to see if it's something I can ask. Oh, great. So somebody asked, what about negative emotions? Great. So the practice very much concerns itself with that. It's very much concerned with all kinds, negative and positive, challenging and easy. And the practice essentially is that when we try and open a connection to the infinite source, whatever is going on, that provides a healthy context for whatever is going on. So if it's a negative or challenging emotion, by putting it in a context of connection to God, whatever you want to call it, that actually can be a wonderful step towards having a healthier relationship with it. Can actually be a wonderful step towards getting a better perspective on it and even moving towards healing. So that's very much part of the practice. Somebody asked me to list the qualities of the 7 days. I'll do that quickly. No, it's not so necessary, but I'm happy to do it. And then we'll go into the practice. So there's love, oneness, there's severity, there's ego, pride, or glory, there's determination or perseverance, there's humility or surrender, there's bonding or sharing, and finally there's manifestation. So that's the 7 that he's thinking of. But as he says, it applies to anything we experience. So let's sit quietly together and invite you to just keep coming back to this practice, whatever's arising, to put it in the context of the infinite mystery, to think about how it can be a connection, an invitation between you and the Ein Sof. We'll sit for about 10 minutes. And to gently bring our practice to a close, I'm going to sing the Ashrei chant again. And Barbara, if you're able to share the sheet again for people, that would be lovely. And please feel free to join in if you'd like to. Thanks, Barbara. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehallelujah Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehallelujah. Last time, join in, even if you've never done it before. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yehallelujah Od Yehallelujah Selah. Thank you, friends. I'm going to pass it over to Rabbi Josh now to lead Kaddish.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So, love you. We're going to go into reciting the Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. And so if you're saying Kaddish for someone and want to share that, I have your intention of who you're in mind, share that in the chat. You're welcome to. Barbara will the text for the Kaddish, and you're welcome to join in. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah v'alma divrach chitei yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei
Shmei Rabbah
Le'olam
Lamaya
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitzaman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalel shmei b'kedusha b'richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nekemata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al Israel v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom b'imromav
Hu
Hu
yaseh
Yaseh
shalom
Shalom
aleinu
Aleinu
v'al kol
v'al
Israel
v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'imru
v'imru amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So that concludes our sit for today. I want to just share again in the chat box the link to our website, where if you are able and so moved, you can make a donation in support of the work of IJS. We are grateful for your support, and we are grateful to all for helping to create this beautiful community of practice every day. For those who are leaving now, we wish you good health and shalom, and hope to see you again tomorrow at the same time. For those who would like to stay, you are welcome to do so and stay here with Rabbi Daniel and ask any questions or share on today's meditation experience. The recording of this session is also saved on the IJS Facebook page, and the link for the text has already been shared, but maybe Barbara, you can put it back on there as well. All right, so great. Daniel, thank you so much for that teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, and I was struck by that. It was interesting, and I wonder if you want to draw any attention to, in particular, the refrain of, he talked about ahava, love, yirah, awe, right, and tiferet, which you translated as, remind me, you translated as
glory or pride.
Right. So, and I'm wondering if there's anything about like those particular three sort of emotions or states that that strikes you as you were thinking about that teaching.
Thanks. So I think one piece I think is important to say is he's listing the 7 lower sephirot qualities of the tree of life, of course, and but I actually think there is greater significance there as well. It's not just that it happens to be the beginning of that list, because as you probably know, Rabbi Josh, and some others may know, there's a huge amount of focus in Hasidic texts, especially on ahava and yira, on love and fear/awe, and on cultivating a healthy balance between those. And when we get the balance right between love and awe, or love and severity, openness and boundaries, you might also translate that as oneness and boundaries, perhaps. So when we get the balance right between them, then we get a healthy sense of self, which is one way of understanding that tiferet, that middle quality of, which I translated as pride. It could be esteem, in the sense that we can have healthy self-esteem, but it can also be like too much, right? Or it can be too little. So like, if we get the balance right between the oneness and the boundaries, and hopefully we get to a healthy place of tiferet. And one more thing about that I'll say is, tiferet also means beauty and harmony. So I think that really resonates with that way of understanding it. Like, when we have a healthy sense of self that's got those things in balance, it is beautiful and harmonious, and it is harmonious both within itself and with everything around it, which is one of the things about tiferet as well.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful way of putting it. It's a great question, a beautiful question here from Lori in the chat. And if you have questions or other observations, you want to enter them in the chat. But there's this question, Daniel, for you. If we are to elevate all that arises, that all feelings are part of the divine, would you please help walk us through how to elevate distraction, confusion, trauma, heartbreak as part of the divine in this way?
Yes.
That's Taco question.
Yeah, Taco question. It's a great question, Laurie. And actually, I'm really glad somebody asked this, and I'm really glad we were addressing it early on, because it's very important that people know, like, this is not just a practice for when you feel good, or like a practice that only works for easy things. It's not like that. So I mentioned in the opening instructions about like providing the context of a relationship with the Ein Sof, the loving creator, whatever you want to call he, she, it, right? Whatever that is, that loving mystery. When we put things in the context of that can give us a really wonderful, healthy context to experience them. But very, very important that we hold ourselves with care, and we only expose ourselves to them a tiny, tiny little drop at a time. This is sometimes called titration, in the sense of like adding a tiny little drop of something to something else that changes what it is. Titration, you just want to feel just enough to get a sense of what it is and know that you're still safe. And of course, if we're meditating and we want to stay meditating rather than being sucked in and overwhelmed and hurt by something, so then it's very, very important that we still have a part of us that is not touched by it, a part of us that can be the witness, or can be the holder, can be the carer, can be the vessel that's doing the work. So part of us is holding that and holding the relationship with the loving creator and the mystery. And then we're just allowing in as much as we want to of whatever's coming up. Those examples that Laurie named are great ones. The distraction, the confusion, the trauma, and so on. And of course, sometimes everybody's going to be overwhelmed by those things. Sometimes we don't have a choice, we don't control it. Sometimes it's just, bang, it just takes over completely. That's great. That happens to everyone. Not great, but it happens to everyone. And the practice is to try and refine the space of being able to have a little bit of distance from those things, having that vessel, having that control, but having the ability to witness them again. It's not easy. Being overwhelmed is real, and it will keep happening, but we just get better at it. It's just, these are all muscles and neural pathways that the more we practice using them, the more we're able to work with them. And every issue, every one of those examples Laurie mentioned, and every example of everything challenging that I and everyone else has its own nuances. So, we'll get more experienced at dealing with it and more sensitive to it, and we'll get more familiar with what leads to us getting sucked in and overwhelmed, and we'll become more sensitive at keeping the safe distance that we want to do the work we want.
It reminds me of, and I want to offer the disclaimer, right? This is not, meditation is not therapy, and if there's something seriously traumatic, right, then being in the care of a qualified therapist is important. And if something is really triggering trauma, like, it's probably a good sign, step away from that for a minute and find the treatment, find the help that you need. And I also think I'm reminded of a practice that Rabbi Nancy Flam, of our faculty for a long time now, of our Wisdom Council, it teaches. It's actually a unit in the Gift of Awareness course that we have on the RAIN practice, right? Of recognizing, accepting, and investigating and identification, right? So I think that's a practice that can help with creating the kind of space that you're talking about. Getting on the balcony, right? Can we observe the emotions that are for us, sort of even pleasant or whatever they are, right? Be able to not necessarily be owned by or claimed by them. Easier said than done. It's very, very much easier said than done. But that's one practice I know of for sure that may speak to that may speak to it. There was a question that also came up, was sent to me, but I think it was meant for the whole group. You quoted Rabbi Jeff Roth, one of our teachers. This is what it is, right? And the question is, how does this help one remember the oneness? Question. I wonder what you think about that.
Please say that again.
So when you go through, this is
okay.
what it is, right?
Okay.
How does it help remember the oneness?
Got it. So, it's all about context, and it's all about what the associations and what that means to you, to each individual, to each person, right? When I learned that from Rabbi Jeff, now it's like this. It was in the context of a Jewish meditation retreat where we were talking a lot about how everything is God, everything is the divine, everything is one. Now, if that's what you happen to feel today, everything is, then great. Of course, that's not always what everybody feels life is, but the practice is as an invitation to try it and see. Just like, I don't always feel like saying thank you, Modernity, when I wake up in the morning, but the invitation is there to try it and see what happens. And if I do it every day, then I'm working on that muscle. So in the same way, I think if I say whatever I'm experiencing right now, it's all part of the great oneness, and it's all part of the great mystery that I don't understand, I don't know anything about, but I believe there's a loving source from it, and I believe that pain in my knee and that weird vibration in my other knee and the throbbing in my back and my thoughts about whatever, it's all part of that. And if I assert that, then I'm making it true for myself. I'm building that reality for myself. That's the practice that I understand it.
And I think, and maybe to add to that these are all that practice is about cultivating the ability to liberate ourselves and others from the suffering that we might be experiencing, right? That we can recognize that, and the liberation comes from, again, not necessarily having to be claimed by it, right? That we can assert there's other dimensions to us that when we're in a painful place, the pain can suck us in, right, and can feel totalizing. And so to be able to create that space is itself a piece of the liberatory move. Yeah.
Beautiful. Right. Right, Josh, sorry, that really helps me clarify something. Yeah, so I want to say also to that, like, yeah, sometimes we get so sucked in, so overwhelmed by something that we forget that it's part of something bigger, right? So what I'm hearing you remind me of is like, saying now it's like this, now this is how the oneness, the divine is manifesting. It's just a reminder that what I'm feeling in this moment is not the totality of all creation, right? I don't need to spiral into it and forget everything else.
I remember our friend, Rabbi Sam Feinsmith, my very good friend in Chavrutin, member here. And Sam, I remember when he was talking, and Rachel Cowan, Rabbi Rachel Cowan of blessed memory, also talked about this, that that the value of practice in moments of suffering. In the case of Sam, it was when he was sitting shiva for his father. In Rachel's case, it was when she was dying. But just the number one, the ability to have a practice. You practice so that you have it, at moments that you really need also, and the ability to just be able to be present and not feel overwhelmed. Just be, all I have to focus on right now, all I want to focus on is like the next 5 minutes or like the next breath, right? That's all that's all it is. And that amazing sort of anchor that allows us to, just come back and clear away a lot of that totalizing, those places our minds can, can often take us. So this one, and Laura, yeah, anava, balance, right? In our Tikkun Midot language, Tiferet for us becomes, Mark translates into anava as, and not as necessarily as humility, but as balance, a balance between these different poles. It's great, wonderful. With that, I think I'm gonna wrap us up and say thank you, and just remind you again that we have the Sunday day of practice in preparation for Pesach coming up this Sunday. So please check that out and register if you are so inclined. And Daniel, just thank you again. It was a wonderful teaching and wonderful to be able to spend time with you.
You're so welcome. It was lovely. It was really lovely to be with you. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you. Barbara, thanks for pinch hitting today. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Barbara.